Folks, I'm Rhino Horn 7. Today is a very big day indeed. As you know, as most of you know, I am currently on an 18-year journey to read every single DC comic ever released. Now, previously I have been doing this by uploading a video a day, reading 10 comics a day and uploading a video about those 10 comics every day. I'm still reading 10 comics a day, however, today marks a big change because I am now reading weekly. I'm doing streams and videos weekly. So I'll discuss the 70 comics I read this week in this video / stream. I will not discuss every single comic because there's 70 of them, there's so many, but I will go over the most important or interesting moments that I uncovered while reading this week. So, let's skip all the shit and get right freaking into it with Action Comics number 37. We're starting on Monday. This is not Monday, this is Tuesday, I think, actually. Let me check. Yeah, this is Tuesday, so I did do a video for Monday. Anyways, we're starting on Tuesday. It's actually 60. Whatever. You get my point. Action Comics number 37 is the first book, the first issue that I read for this video. Apparently I needed to cough. Okay. Superman. The big guy. Obviously I've read all of these issues and stories, but I'm only going to talk about the cool ones. So we're talking about Superman. This is actually a good one. This is actually I really enjoyed this one. It was interesting. It was sort of more Clark focused than Superman. We see the police commissioner is sort of letting crime run rampant. Metropolis is having like a big crime spree recently. Crime is running rampant. Everybody's confused. Everybody's like, get the police commissioner off the job, replace him. So they do replace him. Then the new police commissioner dies. They replace that guy. The next one dies also. They do it again. He dies also. Finally, the the mayor or whatever, decides Clark Kent, after some convincing from most, he decides Clark Kent is going to be the next police commissioner. And of course, Clark Kent happens to be Superman. So, Clark takes up the job. He starts cracking down on crime. He starts, investigating what's going on with his crime spree on the side. Turns out, the former police commissioner was the leader of a gang. And I really did enjoy this issue because it's really Clark focused. It's really Clark focused. And, I think that's interesting. I think it's fun to see more Clark stuff. And he sort of does some brave shit. He sort of, he actually does a really good job as the commissioner. So the mayor's like, hey, you can have the job permanently if you want, but Clark turns it down, of course, because you have to be Superman. And yeah, I really did enjoy that issue. I thought that was fun. I thought that was a fun story. Moving on to Adventure Comics 63. This comic brings me to a larger topic I want to talk about. In this issue of Starman, specifically the Starman story, there is a guy creating earthquakes to destroy America. He hates America for whatever reason, and he wants to destroy it, and he's created a machine to create precise earthquakes to destroy it. Starman, of course, stops him. However, this man is not doing this alone. He is a boss, the ruler of a bunch of very racist caricatures of South American natives, specifically. And this brings me to a question I have, sort of, about racism in comics at the time. Because it's very confusing, sometimes. It's very weird. Because it's like there's a weird balance they have to keep, almost. Because their racism stops them from portraying the natives as smart. They can't be smart. They have to be savages. They have to be crazy, bloodthirsty savages. But they also have to be bad guys. But then we have to make a big white guy the bad guy because only white people are smart enough to be the real bad guys behind everything. And that is something interesting I've noticed, like a trend in comics from this time, is that the big bad will always be a white guy, except for Fang. What was his name? He's like one of the most. Oh, he's like so big in this era. He's appeared in like every issue of one of the comics. What's his name? Fang Gao. He was a big bad. Chinese. He's obviously a very racist character of Chinese people. He was a big bad. but you know, still, it's weird. It's confusing. It's just confusing to me because, you know, I don't know how to like explain what I'm like my thought process here, but look, what I'm trying to say is, okay, the big bad like always has to be like an evil, smart white guy because they don't see the people of color as smart enough to, you know, do to do the big things. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying. I do know what I'm saying. I'm saying, even when being racist, they're almost portraying white people as evil, right? Like a cunning evil. This is stupid. This is stupid, right? Racism in comics is a really big problem, and it's stupid, and it doesn't make sense. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Which is why I try to make sense if it doesn't make any sense. Which is why I'm not making any sense right now. Moving on to All American Comics number 27. This is a big one. 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 Okay. Okay, All American Comics number 27. So, the basic idea is there are new plans, alright? Someone created plans for new radio that doesn't have static. The kind of plot is a little confusing. Doesn't really make sense. But that's not the important part, right? The plot doesn't matter in this issue. I don't care about the plot, right? It's a radio. It's a special radio that, you know, is really good at things, I guess. What is important in this issue is a little guy that gets introduced here. A little guy named Doiby Douglas. A little itty bitty guy. I don't know why I said that. He's awesome, dude. He is brilliant. I love the way he talks, the way he acts. He's strong. He beats up a bunch of guys. He's the GOAT. I love Doiby Douglas. He is absolutely one-of-a-kind brilliant. And that is, you know, he gets introduced this issue. And that's really my entire notes, other than the radio stuff. And who cares about the radio when you have Doiby? And that's my big thing. It's just Doiby. Doiby becomes, by the way, Green Lantern's official sidekick, which is awesome because I love Doiby. I'm surprised he's not more popular because he's a really cool character. He's like Green Lantern's Robin, pretty much. I do have more to talk about, but I'm gonna go get water first because my throat is like sore. Okay, I am back. Now, we move on to All Flash number 1. Not a whole lot happens. There's some interesting stories, but I think the most interesting is the first one. I think it's the first one, where Jay Garrick, faces off against a guy who's discovered a way to turn people into statues. And what's weird is the way to unturn the people doesn't really get explained. For some reason, some weird blood plasma solution that Jay created is able to unturn them from stone, which doesn't make sense to me, but, you know, it's not explained why it does that, but it does, I guess. You know, what do I know, right? Bullet Man also gets his own comic, which is crazy, because he's Bullet Man. He's just a Captain America knockoff. I'm pretty sure he was created after Captain America too, so there's no excuse. He does not need his own comic. Then we get Captain Marvel Adventures number 2, which is interesting. Is split off from Wiz Comics, sort of. Because in Wiz Comics right now, there is the crossover going on, and Sivana is supposedly supposed to be dead. Not dead. The last time we saw Sivana in the main, in Wiz Comics, he was old and dying in bed. And now he's back, completely normal. There's no explanation for his return. And this leads me to another larger point, where there's sort of a difference between heroes in blank comics and their own comic, right? Like, Superman and Action Comics are not connected at all, other than having Superman in them. Like, the plots will never connect. And obviously that's different nowadays, but back then, it's sort of interesting. And it's not like a problem with comics in general, because, like, a Wiz Comics issue will connect to the next Wiz Comics issue sometimes, right? And they're not, like, fully disconnected either. It's interesting, I think. Like, their own, when they get their own comic, every story is anthology. It's completely separated. Whereas in, blank comics, Wiz Comics, Action Comics, Detective Comics, all those, the stories won't be interwoven or connected. They'll show on anthologies, but they'll sometimes have some connective tissue. They won't be fully disconnected. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Then we skip to Wednesday, where we get Flash Comics 18, which is a fun one. This is a really fun one. Jay Garrick and John Carter, his romantic other, meet up with some old friends, specifically Brenda, who is Joan's old friend. And Brenda is opening up a new restaurant and is getting threats from racketeers who want her to pay protection money. So Joan asks Jay to help her, but Jay is kind of a lazy asshole, which is sort of a theme with the Flash. Jay is just kind of a lazy asshole all the time. He's kind of a dick, to be honest. He's just really fucking lazy. And he, gets mad when she gets mad that he won't protect her friend from racketeers. Jay, that's your job. That's your job. Do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that? That's loud. Anyways, as I was saying, Jay eventually decides to help Brenda anyways, as the Flash. So he follows her to her store, he finds the racketeers threatening her, he beats them up, then, this is the best part of the issue, this is the best thing I've ever seen happen in a comic, he takes all the food in Brenda's store and feeds it all to the racketeers. He forces them to eat all the food, and it's an absurd amount of food. They're like pregnant by the end. Let me see if I can find this panel. I actually want to show it. Because it's absurd. It's absurd how much food he fed them. They actually look pregnant and fat by the end, by the time he's done. Where is it? There's one... Okay, there's 2 panels. Oh my god, here it is. I found it. Holy shit. Oh my god, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You will not believe, dude. You will not believe, brother. Look! Look! What the hell? The Flash did this! He's so fat. His belly's round. He wasn't like that before. He was slim before. You know how much food Jay would have had to feed them? That's absurd! Dude, oh my god, and if you see the panel, oh my god, you need to go find this comic and see the panels, dude. Of him force feeding them. It's absurd. And obviously, I don't expect you to buy Flash Comics 18 from 1941. But I'm sure there are many places where you can read comics online, or read free, or, yeah, you can read free comics online. Yeah. There are many places you can read comics online. And I'm sure there's some sites that let you read all comics, right? So just figure that out. But yeah, he makes them fat. He feeds them an absurd amount of food. And this brings me to a larger, not problem. Something I enjoy about the Flash. Something I really like about the Flash, which is he just does fucking Looney Tune shit all the time. All the time. And it's funny. It's amazing. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. And there's another character who does that gets introduced today, who I first read the comic for today. And we'll talk about him in a bit. Moving on. Oh yeah. The racketeer leader gets really mad when he gets caught, and he says to Brenda, "Women have too much freedom." Which is, I think is a funny line. I think that is a funny line, considering how little freedom they had back then. Hit Comics 12. It's just another goofy comic. Hercules takes down a gang. Hercules kind of does the goofy Looney Tunes shit, but not fully. Not as well as the Flash does it. In More Fun Comics 68, we get a big switch. A big important switch. Because Dr. Fate is no longer at the end of More Fun Comics. And the Spectre is no longer at the start. Because the new leader of More Fun Comics, the new, first issue, the first story that comes up when you open the book, is Dr. Fate. He took the Spectre's spot. Spectre's still in the book, and Spectre's still good, but this means Dr. Fate has officially become more popular than the Spectre, which I think is big. I think it's big, because Dr. Fate's a pretty popular character even now. And, he finally took the Spectre's spot. As for the actual stories, Dr. Fate investigates a house that kills anyone who gets near it. Turns out there is a mad scientist that lives there and has created a device that can kill using high-pitched sounds. And this is actually foreshadowed at the start of the story by Dr. Fate and Inza at a play. Kent Nelson, he's in a civilian disguise. They're at a little play, and there's, the one girl, they're in an opera, and the fat lady's singing, or whatever, that's the phrase. The fat lady's singing, and she sings so high-pitched that the glass shatters. And he's like, "Sound can break things." And that's foreshadowing. Also, the mad scientist gets caught by Dr. Fate and then kills himself. Moving on to the Spectre. Oh my god. I forgot about this one. This one's good. This one is fucking good. Entire cities destroyed in seconds. Seconds just destroyed. The Spectre begins investigating. Finds out there is a small new planet in the Milky Way galaxy in our solar system near enough to our planet that they can shoot at us. There's a small little planet, about as far away from us as the moon is, and it's covered in fucking little green tiny little shit aliens. I need to pull up these fucking aliens. I need you to see them. I need you to see them. They are so stupid looking. They're so short. And they do so much damage. And they're really evil. But they don't deserve what the Spectre does to them. That I will say. Because he does some messed up shit to them, to be honest. I'll talk about it more in depth later. I don't agree with what he does to these aliens. But, they are a problem, right? Because they have, these missiles that they send down to cities, and they, wipe everyone in the city out in seconds. And, I wouldn't like that, personally. I would not like that. I don't think they should be doing that. Oh my god, okay. This is what they look like. Here we go. 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 Oh, here we go. Oh my god, what the hell? Look at that! Look at that! They're so ugly! They're so ugly and short. And they're fucking... Look at his face! Look at his face! What the hell? So they're destroying the planet. They're attacking it. They're trying to destroy the planet and take it over. So what does the... Also, they have mental powers that can, freeze the Spectre, but he manages to get past it. They have really strong mental powers, too. So what does the Spectre decide to do about this? I'll give you 3 options. I'll give you 3 guesses, okay? Does he decide to... A. Send them back to their galaxy. B. Teach them a lesson, sort of talk to them, and, get them to lay off. Or C. Just sort of, fight them a bit, destroy their... Make it so that they can't attack the Earth anymore. Alright, those are the 3 options. Which do you think is correct? The answer is D. He genocides them. He kills all of them. He doesn't just kill all of them. He absorbs them all into a white ball and sends them flying through the galaxy at supersonic speeds. What the fuck, the Spectre? Why would you do that? Either A, you just genocided an entire alien race, or B, they could come back. Did you think about that? And now they're really angry at you. The Spectre. That was dumb. That was a dumb move. You didn't need to genocide them. You didn't need to do that. And if you were going to genocide them, just do it in a better way than sending them. Also, he doesn't do anything about the planet. So theoretically, technically, the planet should still be in our galaxy. The planet's still floating up there next to the moon. It's just empty now. Obviously, it's never going to be brought up again, because they're anthologies and whatever. But theoretically, on Earth 2, somewhere, there is a planet in our fucking solar system that shouldn't be there. Moving on to the next interesting comic is Superman number 10. This is a big one. Also, going back to Spectre, not the first superhero to genocide people. Hawkman and Dr. Fate have done it. I don't remember when Dr. Fate did it, but I know it was recent. And Hawkman... No, Dr. Fate killed the fish people. I don't remember what Hawkman did, but I do know what he did. Superman number 10. The return of Lex Luthor, who is now officially bald. His iconic bald look. It's not explain why he's bald, but he's just bald now. The mystery, the conflict, is all of the water in Metropolis stops flowing and things start turning invisible. An entire building turns invisible and Superman is only arisen a car doesn't crash into the now invisible building. The invisible thing doesn't really matter. The invisible thing doesn't get mentioned much. Except at the end and the beginning. The big thing is the water stops flowing. People can't use water anymore. The invisibility is never explained. It's never explained how that's happening or why it's happening, but it's a thing that's happened a couple times. A disembodied voice starts making demands to the mayor that if Metropolis wants water back, they need to give the disembodied voice $100 million, which adjusted for inflation is $2.2 billion today. An absurd amount of money. And that's, you know, he's asking for this. For the water. Superman is sent to deliver the money, and the disembodied voice leads him to a cave. Superman at first doesn't want to do this, but he's like, okay, the city kind of has no choice, right? We gotta get water. Superman does manage to trick the voice and catches Luthor. But then Luthor has like a really powerful gun that is able to destroy like 10 battleships or something. He says it has the power to destroy 10 battleships. He shoots Superman with it, which knocks Superman unconscious. When Superman wakes up, he managed to follow Luthor to find out more about his plot. Turns out Luthor is working with Bob Dunning, which is some important official, some important water guy, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't remember. Superman catches Dunning and forces him to confess, but Luthor does escape. Something else big happened in this issue. Something important, I would say. And some would disagree with what I'm about to say. You know, when did Superman first fly? Obviously the Fleischer cartoons. Everyone knows the Fleischer cartoons. When did he first take flight in the comics? A lot of people will tell you, if you Google it, Superman number 11. Not Superman number 11. It's Superman number 10. It is. I'm 100% certain it is Superman number 10. And I'm going to show you why. It's not explicitly said he's flying at all, ever in this issue. So theoretically, yes, he could still be jumping around. But come on. He's in the air here for at least, like, 30 seconds. You can't tell me you can't, look at that! Look at that one right there, in the middle. Right there, past this one. The one right in the middle. This one. You're gonna tell me he's not flying? He's flying. He's flying. He flies in Superman number 10. Superman flies for the first time. I'm not having any question. I'm not having any arguments. He flies for the first time in Superman number 10. Unless you can find an earlier example that I've somehow forgotten about. He flies for the first time in Superman number 10. Unquestionably, that's absolute. I'm not even listening to any arguments. He flies for the first time in Superman number 10. And that's big. It's not something like sticks around. Obviously, he's sort of leaping sometimes in future issues, and it's not really explicitly said he's flying. And it's sort of confusing about when he actually starts flying. But his first ever time flying in the comic books is Superman number 10. That's fine. Unless you can find an earlier version, but I promise it is not later. It's not late. It's not Superman number 11. It's not Action Comics 300, but it's Superman number 10 at the latest. Moving on to Wiz Comics number 19. We continue the Spy Smasher stuff. If you don't know, if you haven't watched the previous videos, currently Captain Marvel is crossing over with the Spy Smasher. These are the two, I think, biggest characters in Wiz Comics, is Spy Smasher and Captain Marvel. Spy Smasher was working against spies. He was working for the American government and fighting spies. He got captured by the Mask, who hypnotized Spy Smasher into becoming an enemy of the US government. And then the Mask died. So now the Spy Smasher is hypnotized and he's fighting a bunch. He's trying to destroy America or whatever. And Captain Marvel was fighting against him. Captain Marvel. Okay. This battle went on for a while. Alright, it's been going on for a bit. I'm just realizing the background audio might have been too loud. Anyways. Captain Marvel has been doing this for, what, 3 Wiz Comics issues straight? They've been fighting? For some reason, Captain Marvel has a solution here to fix Spy Smasher, which for some reason he hasn't done yet. Because all Captain Marvel has to do is look Spy Smasher in the eyes and use his special eye beams, and suddenly Spy Smasher is fixed and not hypnotized anymore. Captain Marvel, what the fuck? If you knew you could do that the entire time, why did you let this go on? Why did it go on for so long, Captain Marvel? Why wasn't that the first thing you tried? Even if you weren't sure it was going to work, which he does say he's not sure it's going to work. Why wasn't that the first thing you tried? That's such a simple solution. Why didn't you do it right away? What is wrong with you, Captain Marvel? So anyways, Spy Smasher and Captain Marvel then work together to defeat Ratsies, which I guess are Nazis. For some reason in this comic they're called Ratsies, which I guess there are rats. Moving on to Thursday now, we have WoW Comics number 2. Mr. Scarlet, lawyer by day, superhero, vigilante by night, fighting a guy called Dr. Death who kills people with music. It's never explained how Dr. Death does that. He just gives people music, and when they play it, they die. But no, it's never explained how that happens, or why that happens. It just does. He just can do that. And Mr. Scarlet defeats him. Great job, Mr. Scarlet. I would love to know how that happened, but guess that's too much to ask. Moving on to Action Comics number 38. Superman. This is a good one. I like this one. People are committing crimes, and then waking up minutes later having no clue why they did it, or even remembering doing it. Lois tries to investigate this, but ends up committing the crime herself. So obviously Superman begins investigating this. Now Lois is being arrested and, accused, and the police are confused as to why all these people don't understand what's going on. Turns out, Superman discovers there was a bald guy, a bald villain, like Lex Luthor, but it's not Lex Luthor, it's some other guy that's bald, using sound to hypnotize people into stealing money for him. What is Superman's solution for this? Superman has a few options, right? Destroy the machine. That's simple. Torture him into confession. Normally Superman wouldn't do that, but this is the full 40s, so I feel like, maybe he could do that. Just intimidate him into confession. That's possible, right? But what if Superman used a machine to hypnotize him into confessing? Oh, that would be smart. That would be smart of Superman, right? Wouldn't be admissible in court, but, whatever, it's comics. We can forget that. But Superman doesn't use a machine to hypnotize him into confessing. But he does hypnotize him into confessing. But how does Superman do that? Because Superman has hypnosis eye beams, of course, right? We all know that. Superman's power, his iconic power, hypnotizing people with his eye beams that he has. Doesn't even have laser eyes yet, by the way, but he can use his hypnotic eye beams. And I think that's really cool. I think it's a good power. I think that one, I'm kind of shitting on it. I think that should have stuck around. I think that's so fun. I think it's fun. Moving on to Adventure Comics number 64. The most important thing that happens here, it's a fun one, right? There's some empty-eyed, extremely skilled thieves. Turns out they're being, like, mind-controlled by some Egyptian prince or something. But the biggest thing here is that, at one point, Starman tells a cop to be a good boy. Which I thought was funny. Moving on to All-American Comics 28. We have Green Lantern, who investigates multiple rich men who die of heart failure, right after changing their wills to give all their money to ne'er-do-well relatives, evil relatives, sort of bad guys, you know? Green Lantern uncovers a scheme by the gangster Spiders. The gangster's name Spiders. Spiders has discovered a pill that causes hypnosis with 1 dose and heart failure with 2. Using this pill, he created a business where he gets paid to put bad guys in the wills of their rich relatives. Green Lantern and, of course, Joey B stop him. The pill shit is so fucking confusing. You don't need to do that. You don't need to have a pill that does 1 dose hypnosis, 2 doses heart failure. Why? Why do you need to do that? Why do you need to do that? The pill shit is just so confusing. Why does the pill do that? How does it work? They say it shocks them. Why does it hypnotize them? Why does the pill hypnotize them? Explain that to me, Spiders. And how does this hypnosis, which would have an effect on the brain, so maybe it gives them more brain aneurysm, how would that affect the heart? Actually, it could have a side effect on the heart. That's stupid. But you get my point, right? This is stupid. The pill shit is stupid. Just, threaten them, nor like a normal person, threaten them, and then give them the heart failure pill. But whatever. All-Star Comics 5. Obviously we have some Justice Society stuff. It's pretty fun. They stopped the mob. I don't have much to talk about though. But the big thing in this issue is that it opens with a letter from FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president at the time. Which means, DC was pretty big. DC was pretty fucking big at the time, right? The president's recognizing them? That's pretty big. It's pretty big. Detective Comics 53. Oh my god. I love this fucking comic. I love this issue so much. Okay. Detective Comics 53. This one is amazing, alright? Honestly, the action... I'm not one to say this. I love action in comics. The action is easily the worst part of this comic, but even the action is decent. There's a woman about to commit suicide off a bridge. Batman saves her. He learns that her name is Viola Vane. She has moved to Gotham to become a star and failed. However, through her letters and, her communication with her parents, she's convinced them that she is a star. She's told them that she's made it. And they're coming to Gotham to see her that night. She couldn't face them knowing that she'd lied, that she had failed. She couldn't let them know that she'd failed. She couldn't live with that. So she decided to kill herself. Batman makes her promise not to kill herself and then pulls together. There's a side plot, by the way, about one of Bruce's friends not liking Gotham. Let me restart this whole thing, actually, because I want this to be a TikTok. Okay. This is my favorite Batman comic ever. This is amazing. This is brilliant. Okay, this one's amazing. Honestly, the action, I love action in superhero comics. But the action in this one is easily the worst part. And even the action is still decent. Bruce Wayne has a friend, right? This isn't really connected to the main plot, but it's sort of part of it. Bruce Wayne has a friend who does not live in Gotham and is visiting and is like, Gotham sucks. Everybody only cares about themselves. This place sucks. Later that night, Batman saves a woman from attempting suicide. She's about to jump off a bridge. He saves her. He learns that her name is Viola Vane. She has moved to Gotham to become a star, but she failed. However, through her letters to her parents, she has convinced them that she succeeded, that she did become a star. She's lied to them. And they, that night, told her that they are coming to Gotham to see her. She panicked, decided she couldn't let them see her like this. She couldn't let them know that she had failed. She couldn't live with that. So she decided to kill herself. Batman makes her promise not to kill herself and takes her back to her house or whatever, and then pulls together the entirety of Gotham City, including the newspapers and radio stations, to convince her parents Viola is actually a popular star. The action comes in midway through when some thugs try to steal some of the jewels and clothes Viola was allowed to borrow. That's not important. Her parents arrive in Gotham, okay? She is dressed up like a star. She's with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is hanging out with her. He's like her escort. There's paparazzi paying attention to her. They go to a fancy show. They have a fancy dinner. Her parents are fully convinced she's a star. Bruce makes sure to convince the newspapers and radio stations not to print any of this, not to say, oh, Gotham is coming together to make this not star seem like she's a star. He makes sure none of them print that, because obviously all of Gotham City knows what's going on. So it's a big thing that nobody's allowed to report on, because, otherwise it would ruin the trick. The end is the best part, easily. Viola's parents want to see her in a play, but Viola is only an understudy, right? She's failed to become a star. She's only an understudy. So, Batman asks the star, right? The star is moving on to Hollywood after this show. So Batman asks the star to let Viola take her place, just for this show. The star decides, okay, I'm going to Hollywood. Sure, why not? It's a nice thing to do. I'll let her do it. So she agrees. Viola acts in the play and does an amazing job. Such a good job that she gets a standing ovation, 5 curtain calls, and the director asked her to replace the previous actor once that actor moves on to Hollywood. So Batman, essentially, sees a young woman about to commit suicide because she feels like she's failed. And then, he doesn't fight his way to fix the problem. He uses his money and his influence and his power to bring Gotham together and give her her dream, essentially. And I think this is my favorite Batman story I've read so far during this journey, because that really shows the core of who Batman is. He doesn't just fight crime with his fist. He doesn't do that. People who criticize Batman mostly criticize that part of him. But he doesn't do that. This is what he does. Other than, obviously he fights crime with his fist all the time, right? But he does use money. He does use his influence. He cares about the people. And he does his best to inspire Gotham itself to help and do what they can. And that's really who Batman is at his core. He uses his power and his influence, not just his fists, to get what needs to be done, to fix his city. Because that's the most important thing to him, is his city. And that's who Batman is. And I think it's cool to see him being that so early on. But yeah, that is Detective Comics 53. If you want to read it, I very much suggest you do. I love it. Moving on to Future Comics 40. No, I'm not talking about Future Comics. I don't know why I said that. Future Comics sucks. It's ass. Moving on to Flash Comics 19. Jay Garrick hits someone with a car and discovers an accident racket because he almost gets sued. So he almost falls for the racket, and that's how he discovers the racket. Friday. Moving on to Friday. Master Comics 16, some guy makes a powerful gun and is being hunted by the Mafia for the plan, so Bullet Man saves him. More Fun Comics 69. This is an important one for Dr. Fate. A scientist named Karkle hires a thug to help him get revenge on his old partner. Karkle's old partner stole a gem from him during an expedition. Karkle has a machine that turns the thug into a shadow so the thug can easily kill the old partner. Kent Nelson and Inza happen to witness the murder, so obviously, Dr. Fate begins to investigate. Karkle hires the thug's other 2 friends, so there's 3 of them now working for him, and turns the 3 of them into shadows and sends them to go rob a bank. Dr. Fate watches all this and decides to follow them to the bank to stop them. He can't defeat them, because they're shadows, right? He can't touch them. The shadows can't touch anything, and he can't touch the shadows. So Karkle can turn them on and off, right? He can turn them back into humans. That's how they get in the bank. That's how they steal the money. That's how they get back to shadows. So Dr. Fate goes back to Karkle's base. Karkle hits him with a transmitter beam, I think it's called, which almost kills him, but he barely survives. But he comes to when all the 3 thugs come back. He can't fight them because they were shadows. He couldn't fight them before because they were shadows. But now they're humans, so he beats all their asses, right? Karkle tries to use the transmitter beam, but Dr. Fate dodges and one of the thugs explodes. Karkle then turns himself into a shadow to escape, but Dr. Fate destroys the machine, making Karkle a permanent shadow. And that will come back to bite Dr. Fate in the ass. I can promise you that. The Spectre... I don't care about the story in the Spectre. It's just about plants that can strangle people. Sort of like Poison Ivy, but they're whatever. This issue confirms a big thing. The Spectre and Jim are two completely separate entities. The Spectre just like lives in Jim's body or something. I'm very confused on how the Spectre works now. Because there's one point in this issue where the Spectre talks to Jim. They don't have a conversation, but Jim says something and the Spectre hears him say it and goes, "Oh, thanks for the info, Jim." Which means they're different people. They're different entities. Which confuses me on how the Spectre works. I don't understand like how it works. Because previously I thought, okay, he's living in his old body. He leaves the body and goes for a crime. But no, he doesn't leave his body. He's still in his body. The Spectre's just a different guy. Why is the Spectre ever in Jim's body? Why isn't he just constantly fighting crime? Is the Spectre like part of Jim? Does Jim become like an empty husk without a soul while he's not in it? And just kind of on autopilot? I don't understand how the Spectre works. This completely throws off my understanding of the Spectre. I don't know. I don't know anymore. If someone could clear that up, I would appreciate it. Moving on to Wiz Comics, Captain Marvel. Billy disrespects Black Magic on the radio, and then some Amish dude and his son hear this and decide to get revenge on him. The son picks a fight with Billy, tricking him into turning into Billy Batson rather than staying in Shazam form, and the Amish dude makes a voodoo Billy Batson doll. He uses a piece of cheese to make it so Billy can't speak. He uses it as a muffle, and he uses pens to stop him from moving, allowing the son to beat on Billy. A cat that the Amish dude owns eats the cheese off the voodoo doll's mouth, allowing Billy to yell Shazam and become Captain Marvel. I don't know why he used cheese. This Amish dude's kind of dumb. Like all Amish people. The doll also becomes a tiny little sentient Captain Marvel figure when Billy becomes Captain Marvel, which is weird. I don't know why it's sentient. But anyways, the two Captain Marvels take down the Amish duo, and then the figure goes back to being inanimate. Also, where's the fucking Tiger Shark? Wiz Comics, this issue had a Tiger Shark on the front. I don't see a Tiger Shark in this issue. He doesn't even go in the ocean. There's no Tiger Shark. It's just lies. Comics in this age love fucking lying. It pisses me off. Action Comics 39. A man named Bryson. This is a good one, too. A man named Bryson is killed in a radioactive explosion. After that, there's some ghost that goes around killing people and committing robberies with just his touch. If he touches you, you die of radiation poisoning. The police begin to suspect Superman is a criminal for some reason, due to some like weird wrong place, wrong time happenings. Like he's always near the crime when it happens. But like they know Superman doesn't have radiation touch poisoning, so I don't know why they think it's Superman. Anyways, turns out Bryson, the guy who died in the explosion, is the killer. But not really by choice, kind of by choice, but not really. The scientist who caused the explosion did it on purpose and then blackmailed Bryson, who survived with his touch death powers but only had a week to live. So he began bribing Bryson, saying, if you don't commit these robberies, if you commit these robberies, you'll have enough money to set your wife up for life. And you'll leave her with that. Turns out the scientist had no intention of using the money to help Bryson's wife, so Bryson kills the scientist and then dies himself. Ba-ba-bum. Very sad. Very sad issue. I almost cried. I did almost cry. Adventure Comics 65, Starman. There's a bunch of boats going missing in the middle of the sea. Starman investigates. Turns out his old enemy, Light, is sinking the boats and imprisoning the sailors on a super submarine. Starman saves the day and then, like an idiot, hands the submarine over to the government. And I'm sure the government, the United States government, used it to kill a bunch of minorities and destroy a third world country. Very nice of them. Then we get to Saturday, finally. That's yesterday. Detective Comics 54. Police are mystified by a group of pirates that keep stealing from ships and disappearing in the fog. When Bruce's date, Dick Grayson, reads this in the newspaper, and it's to Bruce like, yo, we should investigate this. Bruce is like, no. But then when Bruce's date has an import of Silk Storm, suddenly Batman gives a shit and decides to investigate the pirates. He gets ambushed and trapped in an ice locker, but escapes using a light bulb. He like slams in the light bulb and crashes it, and then uses the shards to cut his ropes. He breaks the light bulb, basically. He uses shards to cut his rope. He calls on Robin, and together they track down the pirates. They stop an ongoing pirate robbery, but the captain gets away. The bat plane turns into a bat boat, because it can do that now, which is cool. Finally, we're seeing Batman's dynamic changing vehicles that do that all the time. The pirates' secret hideout turns out is hidden in a big brick wall, which I think I'm saying, which is confusing. It's just like a big brick wall. They don't explain why the big brick wall is there, or why it's not confusing that it's there. or how they hit it in a big brick wall. Whatever. Yeah, I'm sure it makes sense if you explain it. Robin stands around and watches Batman almost die to Captain Hook. But Batman defeats Captain Hook, of course. The day is saved. Woohoo. Flash Comics 20. Oh, this one's fun. I do like this one. Joan buys a useless utility company at an auction. She buys an entire company for $2. Turns out, the utility company was formerly owned by some guy, but his uncle stole his money and sold the company. Flash and Joan promise to help the guy fix up the company and get it back running. Flash forces... So there's some thugs the uncle paid to destroy telephone lines to make running the company harder. So Flash pays those thugs. He beats them up and he forces them to work for the company. Flash manages to scare and touch the uncle's heart and convinces the uncle to invest in the company and make up with his nephew. So everything is fixed and he saves the company. And it's kind of a heartwarming issue, to be honest. And Joan buys a stuffed whale. More Fun Comics 70. Wotan and Karkle. Wotan is from the first appearance, from Dr. Fate's first appearance. He was the first Dr. Fate villain. And Karkle team up. There's a bunch of wind stuff they do. They destroy an entire crew with wind, an entire Arctic excavation crew. One guy survives. He goes back to America. He's like, hey, can someone help me? Dr. Fate hears of this. Dr. Fate ends up go to the Arctic and start investigating. They get trapped. Fate and Ninja get trapped. Fate escapes. Blah blah blah. A bunch of shit happens. They end up accidentally killing themselves. Wotan and Karkle. They use some fire powers to try to kill Fate. He rebounds it, and they light themselves on fire and die. I don't think Karkle died, because Karkle's shadow. So I don't know how he would have died. But Jim Corrigan in the Spectre joins a cult to stop an evil spirit, and that's the big thing there. Sunday. The only thing I really have to talk about on Sunday is Police Comics #1, because this introduces a big character. Plastic Man. When E.L. O'Brien, who's a crook, gets acid in his bloodstream, his crew abandons him. E.L. wakes up in Rest Haven and meets a guy who convinces him to work for the good side. E.L. discovers he can stretch and control his body like plastic, so he becomes Plastic Man and gets revenge on his old crew. He decides to continue being a thief, not to commit crimes, but to get inside info on his opponents, and stop crime as Plastic Man. And the reason I like Plastic Man so much is just like Flash, he's doing goofy Looney Tunes shit. Just in this issue alone, he turns into a carpet and jumps up and spooks them, and he's using the full extent of his powers right away. Which is cool, because with most heroes, they're not doing that, not at this time. They're not doing interesting things. Dr. Fate is, he's fighting magic users. Spectre for a long time was just doing racketeering shit. Green Lantern, just doing racketeering shit. Everybody's just doing racketeering shit. Plastic Man is also doing racketeering shit, just like the Flash, but he's using his powers in an interesting way, so it doesn't matter that it's racketeering shit. Right off that, he's using the powers. He's not just stretching his arms. He's also turning into carpets and balls and stuff, and I think that's really cool. There's a bunch of other stuff like Superman #11, Wiz Comics 20, Action Comics 40, but I don't think I need to talk about those because they're not interesting enough. I do think that is all I have for this portion of the video. So, of the stream. That's all I have for week 7 of Reading Every DC Comic. So, thank you all for watching, goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!